And think not to say within yourselves, We have Abraham to be our father. For I say unto you that God is able of these stones, the Gentiles, to raise up children unto Abraham. Matthew chapter 3, verse 9. His word will go forth in these last days in purity. For if Zion will not purify herself, so as to be approved of in all things in his sight, he will seek another people. Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith, page 18. Many of this people have broken their covenants, but you cannot do that, for God will cut you off and raise up another people that will carry out his purposes in righteousness unless you walk up to the line in your duty. Heber C. Kimball, Journal of Discourses, Volume 4, page 108. What would be necessary to bring about the results nearest to the hearts of the opponents of Mormonism? Simply to renounce, abrogate, or apostatize from the new and everlasting covenant of marriage in its fullness. Were the church to do that as an entirety, God would so reject the saints as a body. The authority of the priesthood would be withdrawn with its gifts and powers, and there would be no more heavenly recognition of the administrations. The heavens would permanently withdraw themselves, and the Lord would raise up another people of greater valor and stability, for his work must, according to his unalterable decrees, go forward. For the time of the second coming of the Savior is near, even at the doors. John Taylor, Deseret News, April 23rd, 1885. But the time will come when the Lord will choose a people out of this people upon whom he will bestow his choicest blessings. Heber C. Kimball, Deseret News, November 9th, 1865. See Journal of Discourses, Volume 11, page 145. God will preserve a portion of this people, and the meek and the humble to bear off the kingdom to the inhabitants of the earth, and will defend his priesthood, for it is the last time, the last gathering time. Brigham Young, Volume 10, page 362. I know there is a people in the heart's core of this people, speaking of the LDS Church, that will arise in their majesty in a day that is near at hand and push spiritual things to the front. A people who would stand up for God. Orson F. Whitney, Deseret News, August 11th, 1889. A people will come forth from among us who will be zealous of good works, willing to do the bidding of the Lord, who will be taught in his ways, and who will walk in his paths. Daniel H. Wells, Deseret News, November 6, 1875. There will come up from the midst of this people, that people that has been talked so much about. Daniel H. Wells, Deseret News, December 9th, 1882. Such a body will involve those called Latter-day Saints, who as a church possesses the fullness and power of the pure plan of salvation. George Q. Cannon, Millennial Star, Volume 42, page 585. I do not know, but that it would be an utter impossibility to commence and carry out some principles pertaining to Zion right in the midst of this people. They have strayed so far that to get a people who would conform to heavenly laws, it may be needful to lead some from the midst of this people and commence anew somewhere in the regions round about in these mountains. Orson Pratt, the Apostle. Journal of Discourses, Volume 15, page 361. But the leadership of today's modern LDS Church say God will not raise up another prophet and another people to do the work that we have been appointed to do. And who said that? Actually, Joseph F. Smith, Church News, March 30th, 1974, page 16. You can read the rest of this book for free on the Zion's Redemption Store page on Facebook or at ogdenkraut.com. So the reason why I am reading this today is because I've been talking about how it is written in section 124 that if the church would not be obedient to the commandments given to the church through Joseph Smith, which were given January 18th, 1841, the church would be rejected with their dead. And what were they commanded to do? They were commanded to build a temple where the Most High, meaning the Father, can come dwell therein, that he might restore the fullness of the priesthood which he has taken away. They never finished that temple. It never was finished. The Father never came to that temple. Jesus Christ never came to that temple. No angel ever came to that temple. It caught fire several times up in the attic, which was never completely repaired. And then finally, after 1846 or 47, it actually burnt to the ground. And then God sent a tornado for it to be completely destroyed and ripped from its foundation. Jesus said if they would do what he said, he would fight their battles for them and they should not be removed from their place. But if they would not do as he said, that they would be cursed and rejected as a church with their dead, and they would be removed from their place. And what happened? They were removed from their place. Somebody asked me, well, if the LDS Church isn't the people who the Lord would come back to, who would it be? Well, the quotes that I just read that come from church history shows that they knew that there would be another people who would live all that God had commanded. And as I have said before in Genesis chapter 9, when a people live all that God has commanded, then they shall look up and Zion will come down and the church of the firstborn will come down out of heaven. This is Zion's redemption. This is why God restored the church to the earth in the last days, so that Zion could be redeemed and Israel could be gathered. Which according to Joseph Smith, who learned it from Jesus Christ, would be upon this American continent. The church continues to change the higher laws, saying that we don't need to do that anymore for whatever reason, with no thus saith the Lord revelation, and a people who teach people to go against what God has commanded are not true followers of Yeshua or Jesus or his plan. And the early church members knew that there would have to be another people who would come up out of the midst of this people, who would be zealous to keep the higher laws and do as God has commanded. And the LDS Church, according to section 124, if you take Jesus at his words, has been rejected with their dead, saith the Lord your God. And I am sorry if that hurts your feelings, but they haven't had it thus saith the Lord revelation in over 100 years. They teach watered down milk toast. The one mighty and strong, who was said to be sent by Jesus to set the house of God in order, implying it would become out of order in section 85 of the Doctrine and Covenants, is also said in Isaiah chapter 28 to teach they who are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. And if a people cannot take the deeper things, they are not ready for Zion's redemption because of their disobedience and their sloth. And that is why God has to send one mighty and strong to set the house of God in order, which includes all the breakoffs out of Nauvoo.